How are personal injury claims calculated? That's a tough question and always asked because, it's the first thing people want to know. Like, is it worth it to bring a claim? So, if it's not worth much, why would anyone want to go through the trouble of bringing a claim? So, calculating a personal injury claim is done by taking a variety of factors into consideration and coming up with a number. And so it really depends a lot, actually, on your medical treatment and medical expenses. So, for instance, if you were in a small fender bender and you went to the chiropractor a couple times, your bill might be a few $100s. Well, that will be really important in determining the value of the case. It might only be worth $1,000 or a few $100s. But if, let's say, you were in a pretty serious accident and the ambulance showed up, hauled you to the emergency room right away, a lot of diagnostics were done, and then they determined you needed a surgery, might need to stay overnight at the hospital. That is going to cost a lot of money, and that is one of the big value drivers for personal injury cases. So the medical expenses are a huge component to calculating the value of a personal injury case. And then another really important factor would be your loss of earnings. So, in the first example that I gave, if you were just in a fender bender, you might be able to go to work the next day, or maybe you take a couple hours off or something. So your loss of earnings might be pretty humble. But in the other case, you're in the hospital for a few days, you're recovering from a surgery, you might be out of work for, weeks, months. Your injuries may even keep you from ever going back to work. So that is another huge component, loss of earnings. So those are your general damages, which are like really calculable, and you can see those on paper. Another big component would be your pain and suffering, and those are called general damages. Sorry, the prior ones were special damages. So general damages are pain and suffering. So basically, that's a really difficult thing to calculate, and that's where a personal injury attorney can really help. So your pain and suffering could be anything from you are unable to sort of play with your children, lift your children, you might not be able to play the guitar or, play video games or whatever it is you do. If that is affected by your injuries in the accident, that's a compensable item of damages. And so that's another thing that really helps in the calculation of the value of a personal injury case. So there's a lot of other little factors, but those are the three real big components that I'd say are how you calculate an injury claim.